Welcome to Success Story, the most useful podcast in the world. I'm your host, Scott D. Clary. The Success Story podcast is part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network, as well as the HubSpot Podcast Network. The HubSpot Podcast Network has other great podcasts like Marketing Made Simple, hosted by Dr. JJ Peterson. Now, Marketing Made Simple brings you practical tips to make your marketing easy and, more importantly, make it work. If you like any of these topics, you definitely want to go check out the show. How to write and deliver a captivating speech, how to market yourself into a new job, how design can help and also hurt your revenue, creating a social media ad strategy that actually works. If these topics resonate with you, go check out Marketing Made Simple wherever you get your podcasts. Today, my guest is Zeke Pike. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the founder of Easy Automated Ecomm and Credit Wipe. Now, Zeke's journey to greatness started in high school. As an All-American quarterback, he was often compared to Auburn star Cam Newton, and rightfully so. However, football didn't work out for Zeke. Through setbacks and run-ins with the law, drugs, and a variety of other things, including landing in jail for 6 months, he realized that he had to find a better way to build his life. Although it didn't come easy, Zeke over time mastered the art of Amazon. He built his own empire selling on Amazon and then turned his strategy that he learned from scratch that generated 7 figures in Amazon sales into a service he offered other individuals trying to launch and scale Amazon stores. This was his first business that he scaled quickly to over 8 figures. This was only the beginning. We'll talk about his football career and journey, the drugs, arrests, near death, suicide, turning his life around, how he cracked Amazon, became the top 1% of sellers. He breaks down his full strategy in the pod, and then how he's launched and scaled other businesses since. He came into this episode with some amazing perspective on life, success, entrepreneurship, and he definitely doesn't disappoint. You're going to love it. Let's jump right into it. This is Zeke Pike, ex-All-American football star turned serial entrepreneur.
I mean, I think for me, it starts like my drive to be like just great in life in general, like started from a young age. My dad played 13 years in the NFL. So I grew up kind of like seeing that, not really knowing like what he was doing, like to me, it was just kind of like my dad, right? Like I didn't realize he played in the NFL, but to kind of see that lifestyle, like from a young kid, like it was always like attractive to me, like money, things like that, that seemed big as a little kid, like it inspired me. And obviously I always wanted to play football. And that's kind of like where my drive even began was in football, and like my discipline was always kind of stemmed from that. And like, I wasn't always the most disciplined either, And so for me, I guess I went through a lot of struggles in my life and faced a lot of like real difficult situations, and many of them were self-inflicted. Like many of them were me just being rebellious and wild and like living life on the edge. And then when I wanted to be, follow my dad's footsteps and have a chance to go to college and play in the NFL, like I got all of that. I was like number 2 quarterback in the country coming out of high school, 5-star quarterback, All-American, had offers to go full scholarships to go play really anywhere I wanted to go. And here I was like as a little kid that had these dreams, and I got all this and my head was just like, and it was just like over for me, and I didn't handle that in the right way. And that's why
it was over for you. What do you mean?
Like I thought I was so much better and greater and like bigger than everybody else. Like I really did. Like for me, my ego was the one thing that really destroyed me in life at a young age. And so I was able to get through it in high school because there wasn't as much publicity, but I got exposed when I went to college. And no matter how good you are, like you're easily able to be exposed, especially in today's age with the way social media is. Like it's everywhere. But when I came out of high school in 2012, it was like when Twitter just like kind of came out. Like it was just kind of starting to like be a thing.
That's when everybody got fucked.
Yeah. And so like I don't even really like, I just didn't realize how powerful it was. Like I was a MySpace, Facebook guy, like like that's what I always was. And so,
and also you're coming out of your dad who was successful,
exactly,
and you're like, I'm like probably God's gift of football coming out of high school. Like, I can do anything.
Yeah, and where I'm from in northern Kentucky, which is 5 to 10 minutes from Cincinnati, Ohio, is a very like big but small town. So it's like everybody knows everybody, and for me, there was a lot of pressure at a young age to fill my. I mean, I went to the same high school as my dad. So like there was this
Your
like,
legacy.
my
Your
dad was
legacy,
the
yeah.
only guy that ever went to my high school that played in the NFL, and then here I am, who's like really the only other player that's ever come to the school that's been as highly recruited and had that, you know, like longevity or that projection that was what was going to happen, you know. And so I was told in high school, like, you're going to the NFL. Like, it wasn't even like, it was just like a no brainer. Like, you know, you're going to go play at one of the top 5 schools in the country, and then you're going to go to, you know, go to the NFL. And so that for me, when I was going to high school, was Auburn University. That's when Cam Newton was there. And like, I remember, you know, taking visits, and I was like, this is insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was hanging out with Cam Newton, and I'm like, you know, it was nuts. And it was really, for me, it was like hearing people like, you know, ask me for my autograph, take pictures with my babies, like at 16 years old, like, what? Like, who am I? You know? And so these were things that I wanted, and then when I got them, I wasn't responsible with them. You know?
Okay, so right now, like at that age, like it's in your head, like obviously major in your head. So what are you going into? You're going to college. Like I'm Canadian, so bear with me. I don't know the whole like what is NCAA like, and then you like go into college or whatever.
Yeah. So like for high school, like I started getting recruited like as a freshman, which is like really young. Like I started getting scholarship
That's not
offers.
rare. That's not common.
That's not common.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like very uncommon. And it started at a young age. And you know, down here in South Florida, it's completely different. Like there's some studs down here. Like the best of the best come out of South Florida. So down here, you can see high schools where there's like 5 to 10 kids on the team that are going Division I. Where I'm from, like in the state of Kentucky, there's maybe 1, 2, 3 guys a year. You know, so it's like completely different. We're talking like just South Florida. That's how much talent there is down here. And so like it was, you know, I was in the newspaper every weekend and every, you know, it was just like it was all the, you know, it was all the time, it was constant. And anything I did negatively was also exposed.
So what did you do? What the things you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, it started in high school. Like, you know, I started just like wanting to like fit in with the normal crowd and like go out and party and like, you know, live this like fantasy life of like, you know, party on the weekend. That's like what you do. And like for me, being a high level athlete, like I needed to have boundaries and have balance, and I didn't always have balance and boundaries, and that's what kind of destroyed me, was like trying to figure that out. When I got to college, for me, it was alcohol. Like alcohol was really what kind of took me, and that's why, you know, I don't drink. Like, you know what I mean? I don't, you know, and it's you know, I still have had my battles with it over the years, but you know, that for me inhibits me in everything I do in my life. And so as an athlete, not to mention a quarterback, which is like, you know, the only player on the team that it's like everybody knows that person, right? Yeah. So that was me. So in college, I started drinking, partying, and I'm like, you know, when I don't drink like a normal person. Like when I drink, yo, I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, that's Zeke. Yeah. So like at a young age, that was me, and I couldn't do that when I got to college, and then I'm a quarterback. You can't go out to the club and act that way that I was acting in high school. You know,
everybody's looking.
Oh, everybody, and so it was just like it got to the point where it was just like I got myself in trouble. I got a public intoxication, and by the time I got back to my dorm room the next morning, it was on ESPN. Like, you know, freshman quarter, all, you know, 5-star freshman quarterback Zeke Pike arrested in my mugshot, like this little baby of a kid, like, you know, just lost, afraid, literally afraid, full of fear. Like that's exactly what it was for me in my life, just like absolutely full of fear. And that didn't stop there. Like, you know, my time at Auburn was very short. I ended up transferring to the University of Louisville, and it really just kind of continued to spiral downhill for me. Like the negative publicity, like I hated it. And I didn't know how to handle it, you know. And then when I went to
you're a role model, like
exactly, a lot of people looked,
hero,
and everybody expected me to make it. Like, you know, there was like, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be easy. Like nothing's bad, you know. There's never gonna be any like adversity. Like, you know, it wasn't like my life was, you know, I'm not gonna say it was easy, but you know, I didn't come from like, you know, a family that I had an amazing mother, an amazing father, like an amazing family that, you know, again, I never really struggled when I was young. I made a lot of poor decisions, you know, but I never really struggled, and so. When I ended up transferring from Auburn to Louisville, and I don't know, it became a point in my life where like I don't know if I was playing football because I loved it or I was playing football just because I was good at it. Like, and I think that's really what it was for me. I think I did love football, but I think there was more the expectation, the pressure to play, knowing that I was good. Like, okay, if I just play, I'm gonna make money. I'm playing the NFL, and so that's where kind of like that one. Like I always thought at a young age, I'm gonna make millions of dollars in the NFL. That's what I was gonna do. Like being an entrepreneur was never a thought. Like my dad passed away in December, so you know, shout out to him. He's amazing. He's looking down. I love him so much. He's taught me everything I know in my life, 100%. But you know, for for him, it was like, he owns health clubs and a recreation center back home, but it's not like the entrepreneur life is not what it is down here. It's just not that up there.
And also, like, he made a ton of money
Yeah.
playing pro.
I mean, he played 13 years, you know.
That's a lot of money. If you're talking true entrepreneur, that's like no money to figure it out, right?
Yeah, and so, I'll be honest, like, I thought that's what I was always going to do, like, that's what and then when I was at the age where I knew that I was going to do that, the pay was completely different than it was when my dad played, right? It's already now it's insane compared to what it was, but it was already completely different. So like with my dad's time, it was a ton of money for them back then, and so, but he put it into a business where my dad showed up and worked every day. Like he was an entrepreneur. He was an entrepreneur. He was an entrepreneur, but he was a slave to his business. And like, that was like, as he got older in life and I got to become an entrepreneur, we can talk about this later, is like, he started to realize, like, I am a slave to my business. Like, the worst thing you can be is be a slave to your business. Like, there's a point where you have to be for a little bit, but like the goal is to not be forever.
How many entrepreneurs, they just create a job for themselves?
Yeah.
Right? And then they hate it, and they could have been making more money working in a
company. Exactly. So there was a lot of, there's a lot of expectations but from a young age, like, I knew I wanted to make money, like, and I was going to do that playing football. That was my way. Auburn, that happens, exposed, get to Louisville, and it just kind of continued. I actually dated a girl for a little bit of time that ended up passing away while I was dating her. And it was just like so many things kept happening. I got a DUI, just a lot of different things kept happening in my life to the point where I'm like, and then when I made these mistakes, I was exposed, right? Where like my boy or my buddy got a DUI, but nobody gave a shit that he got. I'm like, oh, that's cool, but me is like everywhere. So it took me a while to understand that I didn't like that. Like, I wanted to run from that, right? Because I was embarrassed, I was humiliated, I was exposed. I didn't like that. Like, I didn't want that. So I went to a dark, dark place when, when the girl I was dating at the time passed away. I went to a dark, dark place where I was like super depressed, excuse me, didn't really know like what I wanted. Like, I was literally at a point in my life where I didn't know if I was supposed to play football. I didn't know if I was supposed to get a job. I didn't know if I was even supposed to be alive. Like, that was what it was, And so I kept searching my whole life for something to like fulfill me, right? Like, I needed something to make me feel better. And that's where at a point in time, I thought I found it in alcohol or drugs or partying or women or whatever that may be. It was like always searching for something more because I was never comfortable with who I was. Yeah. 2016, I'll never forget, I was at the point where I was like done with football.
Did you formally quit?
I mean, I pissed it. Nobody wanted me anymore. Like, I went from having literally every school in America begging me. I'm talking Nick Saban, I'm talking the biggest coaches are begging me to come play for them, to the point where they were like, bro, fuck you. We're not touching you. Like, we don't want nothing to do with you. You're going to be nothing but negative for our university.
And like, that's how, like, so I'm ignorant. So even if you're like the best of the best, you have negative press at that age, no one's touching you.
I mean, dude, I got 3 chances. I didn't even tell you. I went to Murray State. Like, they went to another school after Louisville, which I was in no position to play football, but I was like, better than sitting at my parents' house, Yeah. So, but I had opportunities. I just blew them. Like, I pissed them away. Like, I self-sabotaged my entire career. And I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. I didn't know what it was until now. Like, I've done some serious work on myself, yo. Yeah. Like, I've done a lot of work on myself. Like, I'm far from perfect, yo. Like, I've done a ton of work on myself, and I had a lot of like built up guilt and remorse and all these things that like I felt because like, yo, I was supposed to be all this and then I wasn't, and then it was
you feel like you did that because where you were at in your head at that point in your life, you're immature, or did you do it and you're glad you did it because you felt like that wasn't what you actually were meant to do?
I wasn't mature then, though. Like, I was so immature. Like, like it took me like I guess when I kind of finished where I was going and explain more, but like it got to the point where I had a gun to my head. Like, I was gonna end my life. Like, I was so high on Xanax and cocaine. I was up all night. Like, I was miserable. Like, I didn't talk to my mom and dad. I didn't talk to them for like 8 months. Like, I was hiding. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to live. I didn't really want to live, but I didn't want to die. Like, it was scary. I was miserable. And I was so lost because that was all I thought I had in my life. I was supposed to, it was supposed to be easy. I was supposed to go play in the NFL. And then it got to the point where it's like, nobody wanted me. Like, what do I do? And it wasn't, and it got to the point where it's like, I don't even know if I want this, but I feel like everybody else wanted it for me, or like I didn't have any other vision outside of that, So that same night, I remember I was sitting on my porch and I was just not in a good place. And I was like contemplating. I was like, I don't know if I want to, like, I don't know if I want to live when I die. I was like, got to the point where I was so mad, like, you know, in such a bad shape that I was like, I'm gonna end my life. And I got in my car and I was literally driving back to the woods. This was in Murray, Kentucky, like the sticks, like not a place to be. Driving and on the way, and this is like 2 a.m, like bad shape. Nobody's on the road. It's in the country. I'm like a half a mile from where I know I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna do it. And I look in my rearview mirror and there's red and blue flashing lights, and I get pulled over. And it was like a moment where I'm like, do I do it now or is this God, right? Is this God like intervening, you know? And it was. That's what it was for me. You know, it was like something greater than myself that came and in that moment stopped me. I spent the next 364 days in jail. Like I was in jail, locked up, nobody could save me. Facing 15 years in prison, like, you know, because of what was found in the car, you know, X, Y, and Z. And it was scary. Like I was in a dark place.
You aren't dead.
But I was still alive, you know? And so it was in that, like in those moments in that cell that like I found who I was. Like I found, and I'm not gonna say it was easy and I'll get there. Like it wasn't easy after this. Like that's where I found who I was though. And like that's where I found that like I'm okay with Zeke. Like my whole life, the real issue was I was full of fear. And I still, every single day I have to check myself, like fear of failing or fear of never accomplishing what I want to have in life. Like, and that's a scary place to be, you know? And so it's like, I think that's the one thing now in my life and as an entrepreneur, like I don't have fear, and it can be really bad at times because I'm like too quick to do things. But, you know, it was in prison that like, not only did I find who I was, but like I came to really like have a relationship with God. And like, that's a huge part of my life and everything that I do. And it's really because of him that I'm here. Like it's, and that's what I believe in, call it what you want it. But like, I believe that something like, you know, my God saved me on that night. Cause I was fully prepared to die that night. And like, it's scary when I look back. Cause I've never since that day, I've never, ever been there. Like never gone back to that place
Never
mentally.
been in a spot that dark.
It scared me so bad mentally that when I got out of jail, I actually started speaking. It happened so quick. I got an opportunity to speak as soon as I got out of jail. They wanted me to come in. They were like, we want you to talk to our school. So I'm like, okay. I like walk in and I talk to the entire school. And like, these kids are just like you know how when you used to have like assemblies, like it's like, this shit's so gay. Like, you know, but like so a lot of it, but like you could tell, like it wasn't like that. You know, we would have like the kids would have been all rowdy and like these kids were locked and you could have heard a pin drop. And that's when I knew
because
like
I don't think I ever had an assembly where they had somebody who just came out of jail.
And I was raw. You know, I was like just gave it to them straight. Like, if you continue, you will fuck your life up. Like, it was, and at this point, I was like, so, you know, I was so scared. Like, I just did 364 days in jail. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'6", you know, 275, 80 pounds right now, 50 pounds too heavy. But I was scared, yo. Like, I was scared in there, yo. Like, scared to sleep, you know? Like, you're not in there with friendly people or happy people. But, you know, I also, at the same time, was able to impact some people in there as well. Like, I was able to, you know, be a leader for some of those people in there. You know, you have to, you know, you're locked up, right? You better, you know, be friendly with somebody, right? So I was able to form relationships, and it was like kind of in there, in that moment, from there to the time I got out when I was speaking, that I realized like God had something for me, like greater, like, so like other than football, right? Like I started to see that. Like, I don't really know what it is. So I started speaking, and I had an organization, and we were like, I probably spoke at like 250, 300 schools, high schools, middle schools, universities all across the country. And these kids were just like, I mean, they were just so impacted, and I was impacted by them, you know, because it was like in those moments that I was like retelling myself my story and, you know, reminding myself like, you know, it's very, you know, and I had a good parents. I was like raised the right way. Like it can be like, I can only imagine like if you're not in, you know, if you didn't come from like somebody that does, and like I have so much respect for people that don't, and that can have the discipline and the drive and the understanding to know that there's something out there that's more than what you think, like, you know? And so it was for me that I realized like, maybe there is more than football. And so when I was speaking, you know, like I'm telling my story, but it was like, I was really good and I got out of jail here I am telling you, like there was not the end that I wanted to the story, right?
There's also not a happy ending either.
Exactly.
Like you had a shitty point in
Exactly.
your life, and everyone's like, okay, what next?
Exactly. And so, and then like what? Oh, you just got out of jail, and like, now, like so, and now like I'm a speaker. Like, oh, this guy. What kind of people get out of jail and they get a job to go into high schools and middle schools and speak? Like, it was insane. But for whatever reason, like God opened that door for me, and like I took it, and that was kind of like when I realized, like, yo, I'm very like, when I walk in a room, I don't say this like It's a gift that God's given me. Like, it's just a presence, right? And so I have a choice, and I think we all do, right? We all have a choice on our presence in terms of how we handle ourselves. And like, I still work on this every day, you know. But it was kind of like in those moments where I'm like, do I need to continue to like tell my story, or is there something more for me? Mm-hmm. And I knew at this point, like I was still dealing with a lot of emotional and mental stuff that like. Again, you know, I was speaking, but it was like, I went through a lot of things. I saw some fucked up shit in jail. And like, I had some things as a child that, you know, were unfair to me, you know, and that other people deal with. It's the same shit. You know, we all have faced things in our life. And I think the one thing that is repetitive over my life is like, no matter what happened when I was down and I was kicked, like my dad raised me to always get back up, like get up, no matter how bad it is, get up, you know? And so, for me, it's like, that's what it's always been. And I knew there was something more for me. I literally came down, I checked myself into a treatment center down in South Florida because I was like, there's something wrong with me, right? Like there's more. Like this is all before I realized all these little voices, these little, you know, fears and things inside of me that were killing me, you know, and then these things
you have self-awareness. You're like, I've self-sabotaged everything.
Exactly. So and I'm like, that's not normal. Like that's not normal. I'm looking at like, normal kids that are the top 5 quarterback in the country that has like they don't do that, you know. They don't. And so for me, like it scared me, right? Like for me to get 5 DUIs and like after the second one do it again, like after the first one do it again, but like after the second, third, and then the fourth, like, and for me it wasn't always drinking. Like I got to a point where I was like really really heavily like reliant on Xanax because of it numbed me, you know what I mean? And so it was like this was all like, you know, 2015, 2014, 2015, 2016. And, you know, I moved down to Florida in 2018, beginning of 2017. And I just completely focused on myself. Like that was it. Like I didn't come down here. I had no idea. Like I thought I was going back home. Like I was just coming down here just to like get away. I needed to work on myself. I thought I was 100% going back home. And I just felt like there was more here for me. And I thought it was football. Like I still thought it was football. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I'm going to train to play football again. Like this time I'm like, look, I'm just going to the league. Like forget college. That clearly didn't work. So I'm like, I'm just going to try. I'm going to get an agent and I'm going to go. And like, it was a complete long shot. And, you know, I trained really hard for like 18 months straight, really, really hard. I was in the best shape of my life, a lot better shape than I'm in now. And I finally got an opportunity. I got an opportunity with Indianapolis Colts. And I went up to Indianapolis for a few months. It wasn't long, but it was enough for me to go back up there and put the helmet back on my head and get back on the field and in the huddle. And you know what? There was somebody better than me, and that's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just inspires me to work harder in the things that I do now in my life. Because again, I've understood that maybe God's trying to tell me like, yo, football is not the plan that I have for you in your life.
I'll ask you something. So you put 18 months in post jail and you're like, I'm trying to figure out my life and it doesn't work out. How do you not spiral again?
I think I had an understanding of myself finally. Like I was constantly trying to like hide. Like I don't hide. I don't even know from what. Like I was just full of fear. Like I was really full of fear. And it was like all this pressure and expectation that I don't even really think other people were putting on me. Like I was putting on myself. And like, I don't know why. Maybe it was because I thought like, you know, I had to make it to the NFL because my dad played, you know, like, I don't know it definitely, like my dad never put pressure on me, which is what's crazy. Like, you know,
that's insane.
Dude.
Many parents that are pro.
Never.
They, like, destroy their kids that way.
Never, ever put pressure on me. It was like, you know, obviously he wanted me to play, right? You know, because he loved it, right? Like, he loved watching me, but never, ever put pressure on me to play, but supported it, you know? And, like, I think it would have broke his heart if I said, like, you know, I don't want to play anymore from a young age, but he would have definitely, like, you know, there wouldn't have been any love lost. And so, even at the, like, he didn't push me to go try to play again. Like, I wanted to do it. Like, I think I wanted to do it because I was like, damn, if I like continue to live my life, like, I'm going to really have some serious regret that that's the way my career ended. Like, I would so much rather my career ended the way it did, where I'm like, I trained for 18 months and I had a shot to go play in the NFL. I got a chance. I had a shot to play in the XFL.
You got closure on it.
Yeah. And so it was like, I got closure on it. And at the time, you know, which, you know, kind of takes me into like the whole entrepreneur thing, is like, I didn't have time for a job then either. You know, I was training, like, you know, between training 2 times a day and then, you know, taking care of my body and recovery and, you know, nutrition and everything else. Like, I didn't have time. So I'm like, you know, what do I do? Like, I have to figure out a way to make money. And that's when I got involved into e-commerce. And that's, you know, when it all started. Cause I'm like, I used to sell Jordans and Nikes and shoes on eBay. Like, that's what I used to do. And I used to hustle. I used to love shoes. I was this kid dude that used to camp out at the mall, like, to get shoes. And I used to buy like 3 or 4 pairs and I would sell them. And I'd only buy 3 or 4 pairs because they never had my size. I wore a size 13, like when I was in like 5th grade. So like they only had one, so I never got them. So that was kind of, I started selling again. And this was when like, this was like post-pandemic, like all post-madness, like, or sorry, pre-pandemic, all like, you know, before the real spike in the e-commerce market. And we were like, I was like really making some like really good money.
All right, so
really
how do you start?
easily.
I want to know, okay, so you come from like 0 business experience at this point, outside of what your dad's done.
Right.
Even your dad never really scaled.
Yeah.
So how do you start this?
I'm trying to think of what it was that
you go set up a Shopify store. What do you do?
In terms of what we do now, or how I got,
like what you did when you started.
So when I got started, I was like,
all the stuff that didn't go right.
I was like, you know, there's like Amazon. I kept buying stuff from Amazon, you know, and I'm like, Amazon, like, so I'm like, somebody's selling this, right? Like, it's like it clicked for me, like, this is eBay, right? Like, you know, so somebody's selling, like, this is so I can do this. And then I was like, like shoes, you can't buy enough shoes, right? You can't, like, I couldn't, at least at the time, and like the margins weren't like, I didn't have a wholesale seller for Jordans for a good price. Like, so like there wasn't, you know, so for me, I'm like, I wonder if I do this with just like any normal product, right? Like any normal product that could possibly sell, right?
Yeah.
So
drop shipping.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just started thinking like, you know, okay, I started drop shipping from like literally like Home Depot. Like that's where I started. Like
you didn't even do like the thing where you go like overseas, you go to like AliExpress or some shit, you find a cheap product. You were like finding deals in store?
I did eventually, like I have used Alibaba, but like in the beginning, like I didn't even know what Alibaba was. Like I was like at Home Depot, like I wonder, you know, like online I would just like search for different deals. Like, you know, every certain times of the year, there's always certain things on sale. It's every year it's the same. And so I was just like, look for little knickknacks, like nothing crazy, like literally the smallest things that you would see in a hardware store. And I was like, and that's where it started for me. And then it kind of like progressed into selling a lot and figuring out products that were really easy to get and that had great margins, which is when we got into like more international market where we started using Alibaba, and I was like, wow, this is really easy. Like, to make really good money. Like, these products are really cheap, you know? And I just kind of like started doing that more and more and more and more. And like, you know, it got to the point where I wasn't really having to add any more products because the products that I had were like pretty good. So I had like just a stable amount of products. This was like, I don't know, probably like when I don't even know, a year after I got down, probably before that. Cause I kind of started selling before I started training. Cause I was like, I don't want my, almost
so you were doing it at the same time, like sort of, but not really.
I was like, my mom and dad were like, dude, you got to get a job.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck that. I'm like, I'm going to just like milk it as, so that's when it started. So it started kind of definitely before of like a job for football, but it was when I got football that like I had time at night and I would just like, it worked with my schedule. Like I'd wake up in the morning, I'd make sure if I had any orders, I'd fulfill them. And then I'd be good all night. And at night I'd have some messages I'd have to, like, it wasn't really a lot. And then it got to the point where I was like,
Amazon does most of the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then I was like, damn, like if I can just like hire a couple people, then surely this can be like pretty easy, right? Like they can just do this stuff for me. Like I don't even have to worry about it. And then that's when I like found out about like Fiverr and like some of these other like websites that I was like, oh, okay, wow. And then, so that's for me, like kind of where it started. After that, this is when drop shipping was like good. Now you can't drop ship unless you have a warehouse now.
No, I was gonna say, because like I'm even curious, like how did you like differentiate? Because I feel like everyone,
I was straight drop shipping. I was straight.
everyone says go sign up for drop shipping. It seems like everybody's trying to do it.
No, I mean everybody's trying to do it because they're doing exactly what I'm about to tell you. They're literally hiring people in India, and they're giving them access to the Amazon store that they just sold for $30,000-$40,000, and they're paying these Indians $1,000 for it. Like, and it's all then they're not doing anything, and they're drop shipping what's not within terms of service of Amazon, and they're getting their store shut down. And they're like, what the hell?
So that's what people are doing.
That's
now.
what's happening. Yeah. Okay. And so like I face these issues on my own. Like, I'm like, they got to a
point. You were earlier.
This
now
is like,
people are going into it now and getting shut down. Okay.
And so like we started seeing this because there was a point where you could drop ship and they didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like this is all right when the pandemic happened, and everybody started rushing to buy on Amazon. And then there's people that are like, I'm out of a job. I'm going to milk this unemployment as long as I can. Yeah. And then I'm going to sell on Amazon. But they suck, right? Like they don't know how to sell. Like you can't just like start. You can't just start getting. You can't just hop on Amazon like, oh, I'm gonna just sell. Like so it became a very bad experience. And then when the pandemic happened, in the middle of it, shipping, everything was destroyed, right? So it was terrible. So Amazon was like, we have to crack down because we're like we're allowing it to happen, right? We're allowing them to drop ship. So essentially using these Chinese suppliers that we couldn't get anything from.
Now you need a warehouse because you have to like have like the prime delivery, 2-day delivery, and all like the quality.
You have to have an infrastructure. Like Amazon wants you to have an infrastructure, right? Like they've created an incredible platform, but they want you to have an incredible business. Like they want you to run it at a large scale if you can. Like those are the clients they're looking for, right? Yeah. Like they don't need more sellers, right? Like they don't. They use 300 million active users a day and literally less than 2 million sellers. That's insane. You know what I mean? Like that's really, those are crazy numbers. And so there's too many buyers and there's too many buyers and there's not enough. Is that right? There's too many buyers, not enough sellers.
Too many buyers, not enough sellers.
There's not enough sellers right now. And so they said
the sellers that are jumping on quick, they're shit sellers.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why they've kind of like, they've come in. They literally, Amazon will sometimes make you get on a Zoom call, like, and verify your identity. So you're not just like setting up, store after store. So for us, like we have over 150 stores. We don't have any stores suspended. 0 stores suspended.
I just want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's episode, HubSpot. Now, as a leader, you're always on the lookout for more ways to arm yourself with knowledge. The books, the seminars, and most importantly, the podcast that help you make the best possible decision for you, your company, your customers. Because when you know more, you can apply more and you can grow. With HubSpot's CRM platform, you can store, track, manage, and report on all the tasks and activities that make up your relationships with customers. With a bird's eye view over all your customer interactions, HubSpot empowers your decision-making like never before, so you can give your business and your customers all the good you've got. Learn how to make your business grow better at HubSpot.com. You figured out the process to scale up and do this properly, so you're within Amazon's terms of service. So the way that you deploy these stores, obviously it's the way that works. Yeah. So what's the way you're supposed to do it now? Like what's your strategy?
So there's 3 different models that we use. So we do use FBA, and FBA is great. FBA is fulfilled by Amazon, which is where you'll essentially buy products in bulk, you'll send them to Amazon, and they'll carry the heavy labor for you. The key is in finding the products, right? There's millions and millions of products, and not every product has a margin. So there's a huge need in for us in this space to develop relationships with brands and certain distributors that have relationships with brands where we can sell product that we want to sell and it's okay. Like we have the right to sell X, Y, and Z, product, whether that's a toothpaste company, Sensodyne. Like we're working with some companies right now that are pretty big companies, and I can't say any names, but like would put us over the edge, like in terms of like, dude, there's no telling what it's going to look like at holiday season, but you really have to have the infrastructure in place. And so for us, like I did the whole like Indians thing, where I was like, I'm going to go to India and like, and it was okay at first, but it got to the point where now like Amazon would rather have one seller that's really, really good than 10 that are really, really bad. So the 3 things that we do right now or the FBA, which is we're sending it in, we still do drop ship, but we drop ship within terms of service. So we'll buy products in bulk. We'll actually package, repackage, label, and send it directly to the buyer. Okay. So that's kind of what we call like our hybrid model, which is how you're supposed to drop ship. The reason why people can't show a warehouse, they can't show proof of receipt for purchasing these products, they can't show some of these things if they're just drop shipping it from another website. So that's the second thing that we do, which is called a hybrid model. The third thing is white and private label. So we private label, we'll create customizable packages, and this is more for like our higher tier clients that understand the importance of like PPC campaigns and ads and kind of really what it takes to run a business. To be honest, like people look at this and they're like, oh well, $45,000. That's a lot of money. Like, yeah, but if you're making $2,500 a month, like go find that in real estate. Like you can't find that in real estate unless you have a loan over your head. And like with interest rates right now, like, I mean, they're not going any lower anytime soon. So it's like, my personal opinion, it's a great opportunity. It's just people don't sell it the right way.
So when you're talking about that, so I'm not even talking about like people that are sitting at home that don't look for help, because that's something that you should be doing anyways. Yeah. But what you're doing is actually like, listen, we have the playbook. We know the terms of service. We've done this like 2 billion times. Yeah. We're going to set you up.
Right.
And the thing is, and I think it's important to figure out, like when somebody's looking to start on Amazon, a lot of people probably figure it out themselves and probably screw it up 1,000 times, kind of like you did before they get it. But there's also a lot of people that teach and like coach how to set up on Amazon.
Yeah.
So when somebody's like never touched Amazon before, how the hell do they know to go to you versus like the 2,500 other people that have YouTube videos and websites? Because it's like Wild West. Nobody regulates.
I mean,
shit.
We're the type of company, and excuse me, we have a warehouse in Kentucky. Okay, so which is where I'm from, and
is that the warehouse you were talking about the other day when you were like, I'm setting up another?
No, this is what I'm gonna say. So we have a warehouse in Kentucky that we've been, but we have to scale. We need more space. We're scaling quickly, which is great. It's a great thing. But we want people to come in. Like we want people to come visit us. Our warehouse in Kentucky is like a warehouse, yo. Yeah. Like we were at the knit and grit when we got that thing. But now it's like we want people to come in, come see what we're doing, come sit down with us. Like nobody can do that in this industry. Like show me a company that can do that. There's not one. Like, what are you going to fly over to Bangladesh? Like, no, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why we got our building in Miami. One, because we have the money to do it. We're scaling appropriately. We have 150 clients that are super happy. We turn down clients all the time because we want to work with good clients. We want to work with clients that understand this is a long-term business. If you want a drop shipping store, go get a drop shipping store and come see me in 4 months. You know what I mean?
Screwed up
when it's shut down. And you're like, oh, can you help me? Can you get my money back for me? Like I should have listened. Cheap as shit. Anything cheap is not good. And so we attract a specific client where it's like, if you there's probably a couple people out there. I mean, there's people that we work with mentor wise that are incredible coaches, right? Like I'm not any different. I have mentors that I have in my business that I know they have courses and stuff. So yeah, you can absolutely go do it yourself. But the client that we attract is the client that doesn't have the time to do it, or they're looking for a passive income because their 9-to-5 job is just barely enough, like they need something that can, and right now, dude, with inflation up, like shit is not cheap and it's not getting it's not getting cheaper, at least for a while.
You're preaching to the choir when you're talking about like finding ways to diversify your income. Like I'm an operator in a company still. I do this podcast, write a newsletter. Like I do a lot of shit. And I know people that diversify. So this is something that like, it's smart to figure out ways to generate revenue on the side. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're working.
And I didn't ever really plan to like do this for other people until other people started asking. And that's when I figured out I was an entrepreneur. Like it never even clicked for me. Like I thought owning a business was like what my dad does. Like you build it, you put the stuff in it, and then you show up to work every day. Like I thought that's what a business owner was, right? It's not. Like it's not. Like you can. I mean, you own multiple companies. Like that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. So like for this space, when that clicked for me and I was like, wow, if I can make this on my store, and then somebody would be like, oh, I want you to help me. Like, friend of mine, I want you to, all right, well, it takes me time, right? My time is money. And then I started doing the math, put the numbers together. And then, it kind of just started from that. And this is like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever I first got down here 5 years ago was when I kind of got, and since then it's like, I knew that at some point in time, this was before the pandemic, I knew at some point in time Amazon would get tight. Yeah. Because their platform's too good, right? It's too good. They don't need that many sellers. They need if they have 2 million sellers and they're just gonna keep growing, like they want to make sure that they're growing the right way, you know. So I think for us, we saw the longevity in Amazon and just in e-commerce in general. Like it's just starting for all of us, and we're all victim to it. Like we all do it all the time. I mean, I buy Amazon stuff on. I mean, I buy it every day.
Dude, I buy everything on Amazon. It's
Yeah,
not going away.
And so that's the other thing where it's just super attractive. Like, you know, even right now, like the crypto market is freaking bleeding. You know, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. The stock market's getting ready to take a massive crash, and inflation's high. You know, interest rates are high. Like real estate market's high. Like e-commerce is the only thing where it's like we're not getting affected no matter what. Like send the pandemic our way, cool. We love it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we win, we thrive in times like this because everybody else is freaking out, like, and we're not. Like, so I saw consistency in that, and I was like, if I can just really put the time, energy, and effort, and I tried it. Like, I've tried working with companies overseas, I've tried working with other people, and all it is taking a shortcut, right? It's like taking the shortcut, taking the easy way out. Like, have somebody else do your shit. Like, no, it doesn't work, you know? So I was like, I'm gonna do it myself. Like, nobody can do it better than me, you know? And so I started doing it. My brother-in-law works for me. Jake, he's incredible. Like, he literally left his job to come work for me. Like, he had a job paying him six plus figures a year, like completely fine. And he was like, I'm miserable. I hate it. I hate going to work. I hate my boss. I'm like, bro, you can work for me. I can't guarantee you that we're gonna make that much. But dude, the pandemic hit and we went nuts. Like we did, you know, $5-6 million like in just in sales, like in our, you know, in stores, right? Like and then we kind of got to this point where it was like, hey, we got to slow down and make sure that what we have is right, like what we're doing is good, and we were still drop shipping at this point, right? We were doing small FBA stuff because we saw a future with it, but we were still able to drop ship. And then the pandemic hit, and I mean, we had like 50 stores get suspended, like shut down. And I'm like, I'm the type of dude that always stays liquid in my business just in case shit hits the fan. I'm like, I don't know, you know, like I just want to make sure. But we have such good relationships with our clients, we didn't lose a single one. We didn't lose one single client. We were able to, I mean, we have a team, we have teams that are in place for things like that at the time. Now we don't even use them anymore. Like, we don't need them. You know, we have one guy that knows what he's doing if a store is happening to ever get in trouble. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm in the right space, yo. Like, you know, because I'm like, but then I'm like, you know, this FBA thing is like, it's working, right? Like we're seeing it work. It's slow. And we're used to like, you know, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month when we were drop shipping, right? Like profit.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, I couldn't wrap my head around only making $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. Like why would I waste my time if I can do this, you know?
But then you can scale up the stores too, right?
Right.
Like, yeah.
And so then as I grew as an entrepreneur, right? Like I was young entrepreneur, you know, I came up, kind of like came up. I just happened to be in the right field and do the right things at the right time. I came up, but it's great to like come up, but like I want to come up like at the end, you know?
Yeah,
and so I started realizing like, even just with the amount of clients right now, like I don't need another client. Like even the clients are right now, I mean, my business is 9 figures. You know what I mean? Like in 4 years, 5 years from now, no
It's
doubt.
actually insane.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and not only that, but like my clients have the ability to exit. You can't exit a drop shipping business. Like there's no exiting. Like, what are you gonna do? Show me your infrastructure. Like, here's my product sheet.
No, but
like,
what do you mean? So now, like, so explain. Yeah, so you
like
can't exit.
You can't exit a drop ship. I mean, there's not really any exit to it.
No, I know. So you have to scale up. That's the only way.
But you have to do that by having the infrastructure, which is, you know, eventually getting to the point, in my opinion, in the space, you have to have a brand. You have to have some type of private label. So the goal for us is like, we want to generate revenue, make you passive income, make you your money back, be completely passive, and then build a dope brand that we're gonna sell for like my company could be like $500 million
I see
one
what you're
day.
saying. I see what you're saying. So now that's where the exit
So
opportunity
now I'm
is.
like, okay, why am I like I'm making money and like I can be patient, right? Everybody's got to have like that long. So this for me is like I have a lot of power in my hands as long as we continue to scale.
Okay, so how do you scale? How do you scale a good brand? How do you build a brand that works with Amazon? And all e-com, and then how do you scale that up? Like, what's the lever you pull? Is it like you build a website? Obviously, you build social. I'm thinking like movement watches or shit like that. Like that's what I'm thinking. Like e-com brand.
We have a jewelry brand that is pretty crazy. You know, like everybody loves like Cuban chains and all that, and so. I don't know. If my wife wasn't here, I would show you. She has one. Brandon was taking pictures of them today, but it's like the margins are crazy. Like, you know, think about it. Like,
and the margins
like,
get even better when you have a name attached
like,
to it. Right?
I'm not even gonna say numbers on here, but it's just like
cool.
there. It's so. I mean, it's like 200-300% margins, right? Like, which is like insane. Like, it's like nuts. So. But it's about finding something that's like you're gonna be able to build, right? Not something that's like all hot for like a couple, like a, you know, like.
And that's what a lot of dropshippers did.
Yeah,
they find like a trending. I've heard people talk about like I'll find some shit on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'll go drop ship that
right.
for like a month.
Yeah.
Like a hot
and
minute,
like now that there's like all these different programs that really pulls, so to say, like products for you for drop shippers. It became really easy. Like they, you know, like just the same way now that more softwares are being created for the benefit of FBA, like wholesale, you know, FBA wholesalers. That was the same with like all these different types of, you know, websites that people were using that was giving them information that the same people have. It's not hard to get on Amazon and see what products are selling, you know? But when it comes to a brand, it's just about establishing something that is going to be able, you're going to be able to put the money into it and know that it's like got a couple years to go. And so I think it's about finding the right product, but not about being like over complicating it, you know? Like, I don't know, like Gronkowski, like Rob Gronkowski's brother does the whole like ice shaker, like and like they kill it, but it's such a simple thing, right? Like it's not, you don't have to overcomplicate it. It's a cup. Like everybody, every day you see them everywhere. Like, and that's the stuff that like we start to think about is like, we can sell that. Like, you know, like we can sell that. Like, you know, my wife actually just started a supplement company. Shout out to her, Boss Babe Supplements.
I'll get her on here too one time.
Yeah. And dude, like it was the same way. She was like, dude, the margins are crazy. And all it is marketing, right? Like, and so that is just about, if you have a good product, like the marketing's easy, right? Like we're pretty good with the marketing side of things. It's about being creative, being visual, you know, what do people want? But it's about
like for that stuff, do you use like a lot of UGC stuff, like influencers? You use like paid, like
I mean
everything.
Like it just depends, you know. Like honestly, like we can run just campaigns through you know social media, you know, and get plenty of traffic and spend little in terms of cost just because of the product, right? Like so. It depends, you know. There's definitely like like influencers and celebrities are obviously great, right? Like if it's legit and like their following it gets the engagement, then absolutely. Like that's probably the best marketing you can get right now. Yeah. But you also want to find some like see it's also there's also a lot of influencers and like that are willing to just like put their name on anything, right? It's about like I tell Dre, I'm like, but still looking for somebody right now, you know. They have a couple people that they've been talking to. It's like find somebody that like really, because they're a women's supplement company, so it's like obviously Boss Babes, right? So but it's like yeah,
no, I got you.
So it's like yeah, you know, like find somebody that complements that, you know, and can be but it will do that, you know. A lot of times it's not that complicated though.
You just find people that don't show
like
bullshit.
PPC campaigns and like you know, just running any type of campaign, whether it's a Google campaign. I mean anything. It's these are like just about people seeing it, right? Like
do you ever take it off? Not take it off. Do you ever do you like your own site, Shopify, or do you just try and stick
we use Shopify when we create brands, and we use Shopify. Now we'll use Shopify more for like the analytics side of things and to be able to like just from the manageability side, it's more friendly.
Because Amazon also takes a cut.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So you need like insane margins.
Yeah, exactly. Which the margins are insane, but you don't have the control like that you can use when you're using Shopify. Yeah. So when it comes to like your own brand, so. On Amazon, you know, it's just about having the SKUs, which is like, you know, every product has a SKU, right? So it's like you have to enter every single SKU one by one, you know, into Amazon.
It's a lift to get it set up.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But after you get it set up, like don't overcomplicate.
Yeah, I mean for our clients, like that's why we do what we do. Is for our clients, it's like literally all your responsibility is to literally. One, have the upfront investment, and two, have the capital. We say $10,000 to $20,000 of initial upfront capital, which is in a credit card. It's not in cash. You have to have that. You know, you can use that in the credit card, and you're fine. You know.
What do you mean? Explain that. Is that for what's that for?
So the credit card. So again, it's like for real estate investors, for whoever, like use other people's money, right?
Yeah.
We always want to use other people's money, and so instead of using our own money to buy these products, knowing we're going to sell them, right? We want to leverage the bank's money. Like bank give us money, whether that's a credit card, whether that's a line of credit, whatever that may be, knowing that we're not ever going to max it out. unless, the store is scaling appropriately. But in the beginning, it starts on a low scale. Like even $10,000 is a lot. We may start the first month with only a $5,000 purchase order, and the store scales slowly. So once that store is paid back, probably by say 45 days, you're paying it back, but you're getting paid every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So every 2 weeks you're paying your card. So that's how I got, that's how I started the credit repair company, which we can talk more about too. But it was like,
I see. Okay. So
the credit point. So I started hacking the credit. I'm like, wait a minute. Holy shit. I have because I had my own e-commerce stores that I was doing. This is what I did. I was using, I don't have money to scale, So I was like, I'm going to use the bank's money. Yeah.
Started on credit.
And so that's where it all started for me on credit.
You're not scared about like interest and shit if it doesn't scale like fast
No,
enough?
I mean, when you're dropshipping, it didn't matter. But now we have it down to again, that's why I say it's a slow scale. We're not going to buy, X amount of products month one if they're not going to sell.
But it's also like candidly, you're talking about 5,000 to 10,000. We're not talking about like 200, 300,000. This is like a relatively small investment. Like if you're working a good job, you could have $5,000 that you could put towards product if it's going to sell anyways.
Yeah,
it's not that big investment.
But what get more people is the upfront investment of.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
and that's where we have to get people to understand is like.
But it's hands off if you do that, right?
Yeah, and that's where it's like, look, if you want to go do it yourself, like you can, but that's what we charge, and that we've had to raise our prices again. Shipping is more expensive. Everything's more expensive right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like we have to be able to keep up, and we're going to continue to scale to continue to provide the results that our clients need.
Get it, man. It's like business in a box.
Yeah, and that's what it is nowadays. Like that's what you want.
It's interesting because I'm the kind of person that's always like, I'll just figure it out myself.
Yeah. But
I can tell you how many times, probably like you've tried to figure it out yourself, and it's cost you like a shit ton of money. And I'm not all for I appreciate what you're saying about come sit down with us, come to our warehouse. There's a lot of bullshit out there.
Yeah, for sure.
An immense amount of bullshit.
Right.
Which is it pisses me off as an entrepreneur as well, because if somebody's putting money into something, you don't want them to get fucked. But I think that realistically, if you find the right people, and the best way to start your entrepreneurial venture is to do it while you're still working.
Yeah.
You keep working, you keep your 9 to 5, and you invest in things that can generate
and it's
revenue.
For this, it's not gonna matter. But if it's for something else, it's definitely the way to do it. And it's gonna suck for a little bit.
But you could do it for this too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying, if you work a full time job, say you're professional, say you're making $100,000-$200,000 per year,
right?
And you understand that your pension is going to be shit. It's not going to be great. You're trying to find ways to generate cash flow, outside of your job. There's a couple ways to do it, but I mean is not a bad way to do it.
Yeah.
Think about the money that, anything that's going to generate significant revenue.
Here's what I tell people.
You have to invest in, again, I'll bring it back to my reality, the podcast. I spent a lot more than $45,000 in ads for this.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah.
And now it makes money, but you spend money to make money.
You have to. You have to spend money to make money. And I think people have to understand that a little if you can build any stream of passive income, that's the absolute best way to create wealth for yourself or for your family.
100%.
You can't just start investing into these things until you've created some type of passive income stream where you can generate the money. Because that's the one thing where I realized the two businesses that I have, people need passive income and everybody needs their credit fixed. They say 1 in 3 people, 1 in every 3 people, they suffer from bad credit. It's just crazy. There's 3 people, and one of us got bad credit. 100%. You know what I mean? So, but that's we try to find things that are going to be around for a while, like the stock market. I mean, it's just we're in a scary place and a scary situation, in terms of the markets right now. It's very uncertain, in my opinion. I think we're gonna see definitely it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
You think that more people are now looking for, because obviously a lot of people go into real estate, a lot of people go into crypto, a lot of people go into just high volatility, even tech stocks and shit. Do you think more people are gonna start moving towards investments like this? Do you see more people looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem, the one of the problems too is again, we talked about the whole everybody started selling drop shipping, right? And it was there was a lot of people that did a really, really bad job and gave the industry, so to say, a bad name.
Go on YouTube, you look up how to drop ship. There's thousands of videos.
Yeah, and it's it's really sad because it obviously works, or people wouldn't be selling on it, right? So it's it obviously works, and there's obviously hundreds and thousands of people that are selling on it. So if you can do it the right way, it's going to work, you know? And so we try to do things just the right way. And when we started doing that and started like, you know, again, when I was a little bit younger and first started making money, like I wanted money. And then as I, you know, I'm like, no, I want longevity. Like I want to be able to sell my business, you know, like, and so I like speed rest. I'm like all in on everything. So when I had an opportunity in business, like I knew nothing about entrepreneurship, but I was like, I'm going to figure it out.
All right, let's talk about, okay, because like you also built out the second business.
Yeah.
So where's your head at when you're building a business? The first one was kind of at a necessity.
Yeah.
And the second one, it's such a useful, and explain what it is. Such a useful, but I thought like this is a weird business to be like sitting in bed at night and being like, I'm gonna start a credit repair business, even though I've built this like Ecomm empire. And I'd be like, I don't fucking know where to start.
Yeah,
it's like a little bit over there.
But it all started from e-commerce. Like I was trying to scale my store, and I was like, I didn't have credit. Like my credit sucked. So I was like,
problems.
So I was like, okay, and I honestly paid for credit repair and I got screwed. Like I got screwed. It was like they fucked my credit. Like, it made it worse. It was not good. And so I was like, okay, now I'm gonna fix it because nobody can fix it better than nobody's gonna care more than I'm gonna care, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out. So I just started figuring it out and I started researching it. And again, it's something you can do yourself, right? Like you can do it yourself, but it's not easy, right? Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it a different way. You know, the way that we go about credit repair is, you know, we don't use Experian. You know,
I don't know anything about credit repair. All I know is that like, okay, so I know that like there's TransUnion, Equifax. I think there's actually a third one in the U.S. In Canada, there's only the two main ones.
TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian are the three bureaus.
Okay.
The three bureaus, yeah. And those are the only. There's more, but those are the three main bureaus they go by.
Okay, and I do know that the only trick I've ever learned is if you see something that's not on your report, you can like report it to one of the bureaus and try and like get it off.
Yeah,
but I'm sure there's like there's a lot more.
Like the common thing. One I wanted to give when I figured out the process and I did it for myself.
Okay, I want to back up because you know this because you're in it. How many people actually give a shit about their credit?
Once they understand it, they give a shit.
Okay.
Like a lot of people aren't educated on it. A lot of people don't know.
I think education.
Yeah, a lot of people will just go and try to buy a car and they'll be like, "I'm sorry, like your credit's not good enough," and they're like, "Oh, okay, well maybe I should pay my credit cards, like pay my balance on." Like that's not it. Like it could be, it can be something stemming back 5-10 years down, that you didn't even realize, that Nordstrom credit card that you opened and just forgot, or you moved and the bill, that got lost and whatever, like, and now you're sent to collections, right? And so you're like, why can't I get over a 650, credit score? Well, because you have two collections from, 2011 on your credit report and it's still showing. And so believe it or not, like it's not ever going to get better. Like, it'll go up and down, but it will never get better until those things are actually handled. So believe it or not, like every person should care about their credit. Every person should know how to go and dispute some of these things, because every time you go and apply or submit or give your name and information for anything and their inquiries, they're on your credit, like they're showing on there. And so there's a method to the madness. And like when people do, like you said, do people give a shit? Like once they understand it, they do. And then when they understand how it benefits them, then it becomes like addicting. Because
highlight how important it is. Like talk about like getting a car, getting a house, like all this stuff. And
I think
the
that
dollar value.
I think the most like the thing that people obviously aspire to have in life is like a house, a car, a family, a successful job, a successful business. I started my business with $0. I started my business off of credit. Literally started my business off of credit. And when that clicked for me hand in hand, I was like, wait a minute. Even other business I have, like completely off of just having good credit and going to the bank and getting money, right? When I was a kid, my dad was like, use the debit card. Do not use the credit card. And I'm like, why? The credit card is terrible. But no, like we were fed that lie. Like, no, debit cards are trash. Like they're trash. They're absolute trash. And if you're going to spend the money, you might as well get the points, right? Like, and so when I started seeing like people, like I have clients that make like $3-4 grand, like every 2-3-4 months, like on cashback rewards, like, just from like spending, so there's like, for me, it started wanting to be able to help people. And with the e-commerce business, we obviously had to have a price, that was affordable for us, that, especially if we wanted to grow our business, that was going to be able to support this long term. And so I saw a need for a lot of people that wanted to get some type of business, but like they didn't know how. And so like when we take clients through the credit repair process, which is very simple, it's very hands free. It's only $1,000. It's $997, a one-time fee. And we take you through the process, not just of fixing your credit, but of taking you to the next step of getting funded. And that's when like your whole life can change, right? Like whether that's, you getting whatever you want to do or starting whatever job or whatever business or whatever that may be. So we try to start there because we understand, like, yes, there's clients that can afford $45,000, like it's no big deal, and start that can do that. But there's a lot of people that, dang, they could really use $2,500, $3,500 a month of passive income, but they just don't have the cash. But if we can fix their credit, we can get them funded, and they can make that at 0%. 12 to 18 months, we've been getting clients 0% interest, $100,000 to $200,000 sometimes. It's insane. And these clients are turning around and making their money back in 12 to 18 months. And it's like, it's like pretty.
I just want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's episode, swag.com. Now, if you've ever received a corporate gift or swag in the past, how many of those gifts did you actually keep? Probably not many, which is probably because the stuff that you got was not so great. I've gotten like a lot of stuff from trade shows and from companies in the past that I've just thrown out the second I get it. So this is why you need to check out swag.com. I've been on the receiving end of getting garbage gifts. I've also worked in companies where I only had access to a really, really small inventory of stuff that I wanted to give my customers and my employees, and I knew that it wasn't going to resonate. I knew that it was going to suck. So what is swag.com? Well, it's like swag upgraded. It's the best place to buy custom gifts and swag that people will actually want to keep. So they sent me a box because obviously they're sponsoring the show and I wanted to see what it's all about. I've worked in businesses. I want to make sure that the quality of their stuff actually was up to my standards, because I can tell you right now that when I get garbage, it goes right into the trash. It really goes right into the trash the second I get back from the trade show or the conference or whatever. So I received one of the custom swag boxes from swag.com. I loved the unique packaging, so it was a beautiful unboxing experience. I love the actual products they sent me, and there's a whole bunch more that obviously they didn't send me, but the stuff that they did send was absolutely beautiful. It was very high quality, and I can only imagine that if I actually got this when I was working for companies, I probably would have actually used it. And to be honest, I'm going to start using them for people that work on my show and in my company as well, because I know that this isn't just a novelty gift that somebody's going to throw out. It's stuff that they can actually use. They have so many unique and customizable gifts that I've never seen anywhere else. They have custom yoga mats. They have custom Apple AirPods. They even have branded kayaks, which I did not know was a thing. So they carry all these premium brands like North Face, Yeti, Nike, and more. And it's all customizable with your company's logo or artwork. With swag.com, they take care of all of your swag at their warehouse and they ship it to individual addresses. Or if you prefer, you can just send it to a bulk location in one single shipment. It's easy to manage from their online portal, which you obviously get access to. So if this is something that you think would benefit you, if you have clients or customers or a team and you want to go the extra mile and you actually want to give gifts that people appreciate, which is the whole point of giving these gifts in the first place, go to swag.com for the perfect swag and custom gifts. Right now, they're giving everybody who's a Success Story podcast listener a special offer. It's 10% off your entire order, but only when you go to swag.com/success and enter promo code success10. Remember, for 10% off, go to swag.com/success and use promo code success10.
It's like a cheat code.
Yeah, it is a cheat. So somebody realizes they don't have good credit, or
Right.
they've been going through life. If you've been going through life, and you haven't been paying attention to this, probably your credit's not.
You don't realize you don't have good credit until you apply for the new apartment.
Yeah.
Or the car, and they're
So
like,
what are the
sorry.
things they do? What are the things that they should start doing that even they can do?
Yeah, I
what's the
think
education?
the most important thing is utilization makes up 1/3 of your credit score. Utilization is how much actual space is being taken up
Yeah.
based on the limit that the banks have given you. So there was a point where my credit was, this is why my credit was low, because I didn't have credit cards. That's literally why I didn't have lines of credit. So so like I'd have like a $5,000 credit card that I'm trying to like scale my business, and I'm like maxed out, like, as like, so when they report, which they report once a month, which every company reports once a month, usually towards the end of the month, middle end of the month. You can call them and ask, like, when do you report, right?
Yeah.
And the key would be to make sure that you're paying those balances off before they report. So any credit card company, whether it's Chase, American Express, whatever company, bank, any of them, they have to tell you when they're reporting your credit. So every day of the month, depending on what day it is, they'll tell you. And as long as you pay before that date, your utilization will always reflect that, and your credit score will boost. So it's little things like that that can make a huge difference. Again, it's a lot of just being uneducated. For us, we actually tell people, like, experience not bad, right? It's not. It's actually it can be a good thing for you, but when trying to repair your credit, it's a terrible thing, because when you sign up for these apps like Credit Karma and Experian, etc., you give them the right to expose you. Like, you give them the right to go and expose your information to banks and tell them basically every month, this dude's got collections, do not give him anything. Next time he applies, absolutely not. He's got a collection for what? For $300. My wife had a collection for $700 from her sorority. I'm like, are you kidding me? So like we fixed it, and her score went from like a 680. She's like a 790 now. Which is like, we've done some other things, but you would be surprised that, and some people don't even know it. Yeah, they just don't know that like they have
until they apply for something, they don't know what's sitting on the report.
Right. So we say don't, like, credit card experience, like, an absolute no. They expose you. They're exposing your information to the banks. We use Identity IQ, which is basically a fraud protection. It's more of a privacy protection where we can actually go in with the same capabilities that these other platforms have. However, they're not affiliated with banks. Like, they're
so you see everything that you want to see.
Exactly. You're seeing everything you want to see, but you're also able to be like dispute aggressively. So you can go through and dispute to the bureaus without them saying, "Oh, dude, this dude just went and disputed." Because it's kind of like they're shady. They're working together though, right? Like, they're feeding each other money. So it's, once we get them onto Identity IQ and we can see, like, we'll set up a call and speak to them. Like, it's not just like we want to educate clients on their credit. Like, it's not just like, oh, we want to repair your client. Yeah, we have some clients that just don't care. They just want it fixed. But like, I tell my clients, like, we want to educate you, right?
So it doesn't happen again.
So it doesn't happen again. So because once it's pretty easy to avoid, right? Like, once like, it's one, like, you shouldn't go. Usually you shouldn't go to collections unless you're being irresponsible, didn't pay anything. And then knowing some little things, like, one, like, specific lines of credit you want to have, the utilization's huge. Just there's lots of different tricks to the trade that.
So you keep your utilization down. You report shit that's inaccurate. Say somebody has gone to collections.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? Is that stuff on there for good, or do you?
No, I mean, no, absolutely not. It's not on there for goods. I mean, a lot of times, like, we'll actually, like, they have to prove documentation that. They can send you to collections once, but they don't keep those papers around? Them things are in the shredder, long gone. Like, prove it, right? So we're aggressive, and a lot of times, it is like they didn't mean for it to happen. It was just a mistake. It was a miscommunication.
I've had cell phone bills that were paid off, and accounts closed, and shit.
Or it was the other party's response, like, fault. Like, there was no email, there was no communication. Like, so. Sometimes it's about going through the process, right? You have to know the right way to go through it. You have to submit the right letters. You have to speak the right language. You have to know ultimately the way to go about it, and that's by giving them as little information as possible, right? Yeah. Like, it's better to just be like, I don't know what this is. I did not do. Like, don't. And I tell people all the time, if you have a collection, don't pay it. The worst thing you can do is pay a collection.
Really?
And once it's paid, like, you're like, oh my gosh, I paid the collection. No, but see, it's like, it's not.
Nah, dude, it's life.
It will fall off eventually. It will fall off eventually, but it will still stay on there for a while. You know what I mean? Even though it's paid, it's like, oh yeah, collection, but he paid it, but he's still looking at the collections, and we're still going to penalize him for it, even though he paid it. So it's like,
see, that's the thing. Like, they don't teach this shit in school.
They don't. This is not teaching in school. First of all, I flunked school. I don't know how I.
But you got to learn this stuff to be smart, because I can guarantee you that banks will not be helping you through this process.
No. I mean,
And collections will not
because
help you through
they
this
don't
process.
want to help you. Why? They want the higher interest rate. They want the higher APR. Like
Yeah.
they want you to have bad credit. You know what I mean? Because that's where they're able to tax those rates on to get the money that, you know, banks don't have money.
Yeah.
They're making money off of our money. You know what I mean? So it's like
100%. So if you have okay, so you have shitty credit, is you like all the low utilization, you make sure that you're getting shit off that shouldn't be there. You're like using other things that don't communicate with banks. What about like getting cards and stuff? Like, are there cards that you should get that like help you out? Is that
yeah, there's definitely a process. Obviously, we got to repair the credit first, right?
Yeah.
If you need your credit fixed, you got to repair the credit. And there's other different ways other than.
Should you apply for cards if you have low credit, or is that going to screw it up?
I would say no. Like it's just going to add more to, you know, like it's going to add more to your report, right? So it's like instead of adding, let's just be patient. Let's fix it. You know,
Yeah.
let's understand the long-term vision of this. You know, it's not going to be fixed in, you know, sometimes 30 days, but very rarely, you know, it takes some 30, 60, 90 days, you know, a little bit of time, sometimes longer. You know, if I've seen very, 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 I mean, you can't show me a credit score that's worse than I've seen. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just, it's sad. It really is sad. You know, like it really is sad because people aren't educated on it enough.
How did the company that you use, how did they fuck you over? Like, what did they do?
It was like I gave him my money, and then I'm like, well, like,
No, like, because I want to be like, what's the red flag that people look out for when they're?
I think like I did one. My credit score got worse. Like I'm like, why is it getting worse? Like, you know, and I don't know. Maybe I was doing something wrong. But if I was doing something wrong, they should have educated me, right?
100%.
They should have told me. And so, you know, we always educate. Like if we're fixing your credit, like please do not go apply for a credit card.
Yeah.
Like please do not go try to buy a car. Like let us just do what we need to do, and we move quick. Like we, you know, if you get signed up with us today, I mean, you're going to have disputes by tomorrow that are in action. You know what I mean? So, and that's all able to be seen. We have a client dashboard that we've built that is very accessible for our clients to see every little thing that we're doing. And it's a benefit to them. And like I said, maybe it was something I screwed up in this company, but like, it's important that you educate people on it, you know? And so for me, it's like, I like to educate people on it because it's like kind of a cheat code, like
100%.
Really, you know. And it's like I used to love when I was a kid.
You think that's like the most? You think that's the biggest differentiator? Like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you think it's the biggest differentiator that you offer? Like because you don't just provide the service,
right? I mean that, yeah. We've become more of an education platform because I like it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's cool to see people win, you know. And like when you see people that are like, "Oh my god, I just got a $25,000 credit line." Like, you know, that may not be a lot to some people, but like that to a lot of people, that's a lot. You know, that can do a lot. And then when you start understanding, like, dang, you can transfer debt. You mean I had debt on this credit card and I can transfer it to this and this and this and get points for it and X, Y, and Z. Like, there's a lot of things that we try to do to educate them. And then even from like the travel side, like, you know, there's like, think about how many people that spend money all the time and they never got to go on a family vacation. Like they should be able to go on a family vacation at least every couple of years based on the amount of points that their mom or dad or the family had to spend through the year on credit cards because they couldn't make it that week. But they don't know it. Like this is all cheat codes of life that we want to educate people on. You know what I mean? Like that's where I get purpose in life. You know what I mean? Like making people money while making money and then educating people on how to go and do it themselves.
You gonna start more businesses after this one, or is this like?
We're like super focused on our e-commerce business right now. We're growing and we're super excited. I mean, we're really clicking on all cylinders. And like my team's just done an awesome job.
How did you? Okay, so like lessons you learned. I want to do like entrepreneurial lessons because you've built a couple businesses now. But lessons that you learned building the credit company. How did you scale that one up? How'd you start it? How'd you scale it up? The people, the tools, the tech.
Yeah, I mean, just started again. You know, doing it myself. You know, everything I've started doing it myself, and then you know, hiring some people to limit your workload, right? And then from there, like then okay, how can these couple people that we've hired to limit our workload become my head guys that can take the business and run it? And I just
want to hire for like, what's the first thing you don't want to do?
Anything on a computer. Like anything on a computer, any of that. Like I love talking to people. I love working with the client. I love like, you know, I love selling. Like I love like bringing the opportunity to people and then building a relationship with them. But I hate computers. I honestly like hate all like the back end of everything I do, but it's so important, right? And it's like I'm so ADHD that like I have to really like focus. Okay, this is important. Even though it doesn't seem important, like this is really important, you know? It's like I just don't like it, so I don't want to do it. Like, But that's what, like I said, my brother-in-law has been freaking phenomenal. My credit business, we've just been able to find some really solid people that, again, have kind of grown with me over the last 2 years of that business. And again, I like, as we scale, like I'm able to pay these people more and hire people more. Like, you don't start with too much, right? Like, don't start with too much. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, that's what they say. And like, so for us, it's just like, you said, are you going to start any more businesses? Like, if the right business comes along, yeah, but like, I'm not in a hurry. You know, the one thing some mistakes I have done is I've lost money. I've gotten into bad businesses. I've, made poor decisions because
what's the worst mistake you want to talk about?
Like, I think honestly, probably the dumbest was like the whole like shitcoin market, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on stupid shit. And it's like I'm just amazed that everybody would win and I would never win and I would always constantly
I think a lot
lose.
of people lost. I think people like they seem like they're winning. But
I'm definitely not up. So
no, that's good, man. No, I think that coming from zero business background, I think people overcomplicate starting shit.
Yeah.
I think that the one thing that you mentioned that was actually super interesting was your mindset. And it was like being slightly fearless about starting things.
Exactly.
If you were going to talk to an entrepreneur and tell them advice for starting something from scratch, what would be your advice or your recommendation? Is it mindset? Is it just do more, start shit? What is it?
I think the most important thing is like take the first step. Like, it's so freaking uncomfortable in the beginning. Like, it is really, really uncomfortable, and you're gonna go through some situations that are just really hard. And you're gonna like, dude, there's so many times where I'm like, this is never gonna work. Like, this isn't gonna work, right? Like, it's just not. So I think the biggest thing is like, just in the beginning, understand you're gonna be uncomfortable, and when you're uncomfortable, like, that's really when you're growing. And so, like, even now there's times in my business, like, it's been uncomfortable lately, right? We just got this new warehouse. We just hired 20 new employees. We just stripped a warehouse, painted a warehouse, yada, yada, X, Y, and Z. Like, so there's a lot of things that we're doing that are, so I would say don't overcomplicate it. And make sure that, again, like, whoever you're aligning yourself with, whoever you're surrounding yourself with, like, always aligns with your values too, and so that's kind of been the biggest thing for us, is like, just anybody that does work for us, like, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, we do things the right way, and then it just pays off. It seems like it continues to come back and benefit us by just doing things the right way.
After starting this, when you first started selling Amazon, you were doing drop shipping yourself. Have your priorities changed, like, in your life? Like, what's the most important thing to you now?
Oh, I mean, the most important thing to me is my faith and my family. My daughter, I have a daughter. She's freaking gorgeous. She's coming to see me tonight. She's on their way down here right now. I'm super excited to see her. But that's definitely the most important thing. And the next is like just being good, right? Like, it's hard. Like, I have business partners, and dude, there's times where they probably think I'm like a loose cannon, but like, I want people to win so badly, right? Like, I just want people to win. I don't get fulfillment. Like, dude, I swear, like, I don't get fulfillment. Like, I can make so much money and it doesn't give me fulfillment. But when I make other people money, it gives me so much fulfillment.
Interesting.
It's like, and I, like, in the beginning, I'm like, I gotta make more money because it's like not enough. Like, it's not fixing,
Yeah.
But like, I really get joy. Like I said, like, kind of like, I get joy from that. Like, it brings me joy, and so I don't know.
No, it's good, man. No, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Man, for doing this. Like, I think that your story is probably one of the most inspirational stories. Like, there's people that have incredible stories for sure, but there's not a lot of people that had you were so laser focused on what your life was going to be. And then when you have that rug pulled out from underneath you and you hit like talking like suicidal thoughts, jail,
rock bottom,
drugs, like that is true. Like, you can't, literally more rock bottom than that.
And that's why it's bigger than entrepreneurship for me, because it's like, me coming on like this podcast is an opportunity for me. Like, if I don't need any business from this podcast. Like, it's my story is bigger than my business. You know what I mean? And so it's like wanting, there's people out there that are freaking hurting right now. Like, our world's fucked up right now. It's not good. You know what I mean? Like, and people are really sad. Like, I have mental health issues. I work on them. Daily, on the daily, because I'm conscious of that, right? So I know there's somebody that's going to hear this podcast that's going to be like, you know what? I've been in the same spot. I felt the same way. Whether you can, it's not like, it's not it's about what you can relate with, right? Your story doesn't have to be the same, but what can you relate
No,
with?
but you understand that, like, listen, I'm watching Zeke, and he hit rock bottom, and I'm going through shit right now.
Yeah.
And if he can figure this shit out and come out on the other side, like, that's the whole point of this. At the end of the day, this whole podcast meant to be like, yeah, tactical, and you learn some shit, but you understand that people that are like, you look at your social, you look like successful, like you look successful. You have a beautiful wife, you have nice things, you have successful business, but you have to understand there's like always stories behind it.
Right.
Very few people wake up and get that day one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people go through a lot of shit to get that.
Yeah.
And that's what I try and bring in.
And I still go through. I still go through shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even now, like I still go. Like I said, like I told you, my father passed away in December. He lost the battle with cancer, and it's like I could choose to just like sit down and pout and be miserable, but you know what? Like there's somebody else out there that just probably lost their dad too. You know what I mean? From the same situation, and if I can rise up, I can keep going, and I can keep succeeding and keep winning. So can you. So can that person. And same thing. I went to jail. I was in jail for a year. Like people, like when you go to jail, they count you out. You're done. You're a bum. You're a waste. You know what I mean? Like I was determined not to be that. Like you were not gonna know me as a freaking jailbird. Like you weren't. And so if that's you, like if that's you and that's you in the situation, like look at me. You know what I mean? Like you can do the same. It's not gonna happen tomorrow or even next week or next month or probably next year. But if you keep one step at a time. And you just believe, like it manifests. Manifestation's huge. I manifest all the time. Manifested all this. Literally, you ask my wife, I manifested. She's brunette now, but I manifested a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, and I was gonna buy her a white G-Wagon. And that's exact. She took a picture in front of a white G-Wagon, and I thought it was hers. And she showed up in like this beat-up red Audi. And I was like, you just catfished me, right? I thought you were like, but I said, you know what, babe, I'm gonna buy you a white G-Wagon. And like those are the things that I'm able to do now because I don't have fear. I have faith. I just step. I move. If something feels right, if something feels aligned, if I feel like something is a good idea and it's going to benefit me, I don't sit and wait and ponder on it and say, let me think about it for a week or 2 weeks, because by that point, I'm definitely not going to do it, right? Yeah. So it's like, if I have, it's like, if God's giving you a spark, if the universe, whatever's giving you this internal spark or voice, do it, act on it, just do it. You know what I mean? Just take action. And so me in my life, the reason I've been successful is because I've taken action. That's it. If doors have opened, I've walked through them. Like not everything's a scam. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Not everything. There's a lot of scams out there. I've been scammed a lot. Not everything's a scam. You know what?
Lean in once in a while.
And take a chance and do due diligence, right, dude? That's why we tell, come see us, come visit us, come meet us. Let's get on the call. Let us educate you. Like, if you just send me your money tonight, like that's, great. We'll take care of you,
but that's not smart.
It's not smart. But we want to build the relationship with you because like this opportunity is really like in today's age, anybody can start a business 100%. Anywhere, whether you're in your bedroom, you can do it. Look at me. Anybody can start their e-commerce store today and never work. If they figured out, they never work another day in their life. Never.
I want to do a couple rapid fire to close this out. Before I pivot, where should people go check you out? All the websites, all the social. Where do you want to send people?
Yeah. Credits-wipe.com.
Yeah.
Credit-wipe.com. And it's easyecom.com. It's easy, letter easy, Ecomm with 2 M's, ECOMM.com. Okay. And on Instagram as well. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me, which is Zeke.Pike. And those are the best. I mean, Instagram's definitely the best way to get in touch with me. I can leave my, we can leave.
I'll do the show notes. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Put my email, all that information, and but yeah, if you reach out, we'll help you, in any way, shape, form, or fashion that we can. And that's just what we want. Like we just want people to win, and honestly, like that's why we have good relationships. That's why clients keep bringing us.
You're
more
passionate
clients.
As hell about it. I know. I don't know. I think it translates through the camera, but I in the same room, you're passionate as hell. It's good. Very good. Okay, let's do a couple rapid fire to close this out. What keeps you up at night now?
What keeps me up at night?
Yes, sir.
As in,
like, what is the thing in your life and your business that's stressing you the fuck out that you don't know how to deal with?
I think this is something that I've dealt with all the time as an entrepreneur, is because I feel like I have to do everything in one day, right? Like I can't do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, understanding that I can do it tomorrow. And if tomorrow doesn't come, then I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, but I always like look at it like that. Like, don't, so for me right now, my biggest stress is like my anxiety. We're getting this new place together.
Yeah.
Anxious for hiring new employees. What if they just suck? What if they're really good? Like all these different things. Well, you want the best. Where it's like I have to check myself.
How do you check yourself? How do you center yourself now?
One, I meditate. Like I said, I'm super spiritual. I'm in tune with God and my faith, and that's huge for me in just terms of making conscious decisions with what I do and anything. I put that first, and then, ultimately just try to continue to, put myself in positions to really, be a light for somebody else.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. What's the biggest challenge you've had in your life? The one thing, there's been many, but like the one thing that sticks out.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like losing my dad was rough, and that one was like probably the one that hit me the most. And I'm still dealing with it right now. And yeah, it's super fresh, and so it's like that's definitely been the hardest thing. But besides that, I would say it's just like being so low to where I felt like there was no way out, and feeling like my life was over.
What did you learn from that?
I learned it's not. I learned no matter how rough life gets, no matter how tough, and that's why I was able to. I'm not perfect, but I'm able to handle losing my dad, right? Because I know my dad's in heaven right now. I know that he's watching over us, and I know that he would be super proud of me. So
Amen. For
me to continue to move forward is about just handling things the right way. And I've learned that through being in the darkest times in the past, where I continued to move. I didn't give up. I didn't quit. I didn't put my finger on the trigger and pull it. You know what I mean? And for that, I'm still here, and I have all of this that I never imagined I would ever have. I wanted it, but then when you start to get it, you're like, wow, it really is incredible, And so I'm super grateful in my life. I'm blessed. I have an amazing daughter. My wife is gorgeous. I have businesses. We're making money. Our clients are happy. And all of this is like super. It's just it's remaining grateful and understanding like days are still gonna suck. Like I still have sucky days and still have tough days, but it's those dark moments that I realize like get the fuck up, bro. Yeah. Keep going. You're tired. You're laying around. Like those are the days that you have to get up. The days that you don't want to the most are the days that you have to do it.
There's been many people in your life that have impacted you. Who's one person? What did they teach you? How did they impact you?
I would say my dad for sure, 100%. And for him, it was just being present. And it's so easy for us to miss so many amazing memories and amazing moments in life because we're so distracted by everything that's going on around social media, TikTok, all this crazy shit that, we just live in such a high, like there's so much stimulation. Yeah. And being present, like the one thing that my dad did for us was he was present. Like he was there, he was present. And when he was there, he wasn't on his phone. He wasn't scrolling through Instagram. Like he was present. You know what I mean? He was with us. Yeah. And so like that's super important. And like a lot of people miss a lot of great relationships and a lot of great opportunities in their life because they're not present. They're concerned, they're consumed. What keeps you up at night? Like just be present, be in the present moment. And so that's like the greatest gift that he's given me. I practice it every day now, and I'm far from being good at it, but I know that it's something that truly gave him peace, right? Even though he had all the money and he had everything. Yeah. He wasn't on his phone when he was at dinner in situations that he was just present. So
it's good. Yeah. A book or podcast or something that's impacted your life.
Probably Think and Grow Rich was one of the books. I mean, I'm not a big reader. I'll be honest. I don't say I hate reading. I'm much more of a audio book guy.
I'm the same. I
can't like sit. Yeah. So I like listen to them while I'm working out. That's been good. I listen to a lot of different podcasts. It's just more for me. It's like I said. I'm very tuned to my faith. I get a lot of answers from that.
One thing to tell your 20-year-old self.
Start. Like I thought I had to be an adult. Like I thought I had to like grow up, right? To start my businesses and start making money. And it's not. Like there's such an opportunity right now for you to start whatever it is you want to start, whether you're still in high school or middle school, Kids are out here getting it right now. Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so for 20 years old, it's like, look, if you're miserable where you're at, you're miserable in your job, and you're miserable with everything else that's going on, stop, quit. You know what I mean? Keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No. And last question, what does success mean to you?
Success to me, I mean, this is where it was like for a while success was all about like having the money, the cars, you know, all of that, right? And for me now it's not. It's like being a great husband, great father, and ultimately like leaving a legacy for my family, taking care of my mom, right? She's going through it right now, taking care of her, taking care of my brother, my sister. Like for me, it's just about leaving an impact on this life that like my dad left, right? The same impact he left, and I'm so far from it, but wanting to leave a greater impact than I ever thought like football could ever imagine. You know, like football is like what it's only, you know, I'm destined for more. I'm designed for more than that, you know. And so now it's just about being able to not just, you know, help people make money and fix their credit, but hopefully along the way form a relationship with them or have an opportunity to share something with them. Because you know, I get joy from that. I get peace from that. Not only that, like I get healing from that too. You know, I get healing from sharing my story. I get healing from talking to somebody else. I get healing from listening to somebody else because it reminds me, you know, like I'm very easy to, you know, think the world's good and go make a bad decision because not because it's bad, because things are good. Like go get, it's a cool, go, you know, go get loose, you know, go do this or that. And it's like, nah, like I'm a husband, I'm a father. You know, I want to be that when I'm not here anymore. You know, I want to be known for that. I want to be known for the dude that, you know, fucked up and went to jail, you know, like, and so for me, you know, every day I wake up, it's like, I want to be great. I want my legacy to be greater when I leave here, you know, for my kids, my future son, daughter, that's not even born yet, you know, it's like, that's what I want to leave.